Hi and welcome to the Malat cookery channel. So this video isn't about cooking, but it is related to food because we're in the greenhouse today. So if you look at what we're going to feature today, is just a natural expansion of the Malat cookery channel. Started the cookery channel as a customer service support program for Malat customers to show them how best to use the spice blends that they purchase. Then developed the channel to also do some general cooking for people who are not Malat customers, and then into outdoor projects like the pizza oven build, again all food related. And I want to expand the channel a little bit further. I've already touched on it in a couple of videos previously about growing different items within the garden, herbs, and obviously some tomatoes and cucumbers and things like that. I want to expand that a little bit further now. I'll probably do a feature maybe every month or every 2 months on the greenhouse and the garden, what's growing, what we're preparing for the future. So in the video today, it's the middle of September. I want to show you some of the plants we're going to be getting rid of that have served us well through the spring and summer. And the thing we're going to be planting today, ready for next year's cultivation, is garlic. So this is what I've picked this morning from the greenhouse. So we've got 4 really nice cucumbers. The last of the red tomatoes, I don't think, unless we have some good days left in September, some nice warm days, I don't think we're going to get any more of the tomatoes ripening actually on the plants themselves. I think we've had upwards of maybe 30-35 cucumbers off just one single plant, all of a very decent size, and I think at the last count about 38 kilos of tomatoes, and that was from about 8 plants. So I've had a really good year this year for cucumbers and tomatoes. With regard to peppers, so I've had quite a few of these just standard bell peppers from 4 plants. Not really fared as well as the tomatoes and cucumbers because overshadowed by this huge lemon tree, which I'm going to have to trim back. But we've still had a good crop of peppers. I think next year I'm going to increase the number of plants, give them a lot more sun, to see how we go with those. But I've had a really good crop, so I'm really pleased with these as well. Again, the cucumber, the tomatoes and the peppers all coming to the end of their natural life now for this year. I've had really good success with this orange tree. Got a small orange there and obviously lots of blossom. So this plant was bought from Lidl, I think for about £6 or £7, and it's been absolutely fantastic. We've had about 4 or 5 small oranges off this tree, all very bitter. I'm still sort of getting to grips with how to turn those oranges into sweet oranges, and I think it's down to the fertilizer. But again, this is just all part of a learning curve for me personally, but great. I've had great success with this particular plant. With regard to our lemon plant, again purchased from Lidl, it hasn't fared as well as the orange. We've had 3 or 4 lemons off this, absolutely beautiful lemons, obviously only small, but the plant has seemed to have lost the majority of its leaves apart from 2, may well be overwatering. If anybody's got any advice with regard to citrus plants, because again this is a new thing for me, how to care for them, please put a comment in the comment section below the video. I need to learn as much as I possibly can. And again, if anybody's got any ideas why this lemon plant has lost virtually all of its leaves, I'll be greatly appreciated. Still carrying on with the herbs, so these are herbs which are purchased from the supermarket at 49p each. I've done a video with regard to potting these on and growing them for the whole season. This is coriander. Coriander is by far the most difficult to plant on from a supermarket purchased plant, but it can be done as this one. I mean, when I took it out of the pack it was fairly dead, but just replanting it and just leaving it with slightly watered, it started to come to life again. So if you want to see that video on how to make these supermarket plants last all season, just click in the top right hand corner now, and that link will take you to the video which deals with that subject. So with regard to the tomatoes, we've still got plenty of decent tomatoes on the plants, all green. Now we've taken off the red ones, and I'm doubtful whether these will actually ripen on the plant themselves, but there is a method to do that which I'll probably show in another video. With regard to the cucumbers, this one plant has been absolutely amazing. Everywhere you look, even though it's the middle of September, everywhere you look, this plant is still producing cucumbers. It should have really stopped by now. Again, if we look down here, don't know if you can see, but there are more cucumbers there. And then down here as well. So there's probably another 8 or 9 cucumbers to go from that plant. It's been absolutely amazing. Probably the biggest success story I think of the whole year growing in this greenhouse. So as the tomato plants finish for the season, we're taking the tomato plants out, and what we're left with is a bucket full of compost. And it's this compost that we're going to reuse for our garlic. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that now. So in order to grow our garlic, we just need a container to grow them in. So I don't, other than the greenhouse, I don't have a vegetable patch or an allotment to grow things on, so I'm just doing it in containers. So container growing. And being a bit of a cheapskate, I'm just using old builder's buckets, or an old builder's bucket. So even new, these are just £1 each. Not very pretty, but they are ideal as a container for growing vegetables in. So the only thing I've done is just taken a 10mm drill bit in the cordless drill and just drilled a series of drainage holes in the bottom. That's the only prep work really I've done for the bucket. So because I'm recycling the compost from the tomatoes, again I've got another builder's bucket, but this is a large flexible one, again relatively inexpensive. I've just placed the compost, the old compost, in there from our greenhouse. So again, this method of growing plants in the greenhouse in buckets which have the entire base taken off and then sat on a bed of compost has worked tremendously well for me. And if you want to see the video on how to grow using this method, then again click in the top right hand corner of the screen now, and that link will take you to the video which deals with this or goes into detail regarding this growing process. So the reason that I'm using this compost from the tomato plants, one is that once the tomatoes have set on the plant, in other words once the plant has started to produce tomatoes, I've been feeding them about once a week with a tomato based or tomato food, which means that although this compost looks quite tired, it's actually probably quite high in a nitrogen based tomato food, which is a good thing. The other thing is, and this is just a general rule, that the insects or pests which are attracted to tomato plants are not necessarily attracted to garlic or onion or any vegetable of that family. So the likelihood that if there is any pests or disease within this compost, it's going to affect the garlic is quite minimal. That's only a general rule. There are 1 or 2 pests and fungi that do affect both plants, but It's very unlikely here because the tomato plants were very healthy, and obviously the tomatoes that they produced were very healthy. So now we've got our base material. The first thing I'm going to do is just take out any large sort of root system. That should only take a couple of minutes. So once I've got the main root system out, the next thing to do is I'm just checking the compost just to see if there are any grubs which have been sort of hatched and buried below the surface that could affect the garlic, and doesn't appear to be. So with regarding the fertilizer for this compost, just to give it a little bit more life, so that old saying of too much of a good thing definitely applies to fertilizer. So don't fall into the trap of thinking that the more fertilizer you add to compost, the bigger and healthier the plants will go, because if you add too much fertilizer, it'll actually have a detrimental effect on the plant and could potentially kill the plant off. So I'm using some chicken manure pellets, and also just some of this slow release plant food, which is in sort of pellet form. And we've got about 10 litres of compost here, and it's literally just a handful of each. So that is more than enough for this 10 litres initially, and the same goes for the chicken manure pellets. So literally just a handful. Give that a good mix in. And just break up any lumps, again any further debris that you find, just take that out. And now this compost is ready to go into our builder's bucket. So the garlic we're going to be using is just supermarket purchased garlic, nothing special about this whatsoever. And all you want to do is very carefully break down that bulb into individual garlic. Make sure, in fact I won't use this one, I'll show you why in a minute. Just make sure that this paper type material on the outside, you keep that on. Keep as much on as possible. If you get a clove like this which has been damaged on the side, as you take it apart, take the bulb apart, and some of the paper or the outside of the garlic has been taken off, don't use it, just don't risk it, it's not worth it. So once we choose our cloves from the bulb, and we're going to be choosing the fattest and the healthiest looking ones, obviously the ones that are not damaged at all, I'm going to be actually placing 5 of the cloves in this size of bucket, 4 on the outside, 1 in the centre. The next thing we need to do is to just help these cloves to kickstart the sprouting process, and to do that I've just got a bowl with some clean cold water in. Just drop the cloves into the bowl. I'm going to leave these now to soak for half an hour. So once these have been allowed to soak for half an hour, next thing to do is to plant them. And the way we plant them is the pointed end goes towards the top. This is where the sprout will come from, and the roots will come from the bottom. So it actually goes that way up. So pointed end facing towards the surface, obviously flat end down. Just take it in between 3 fingers. This is for loose compost like this. position it where you want it to be planted, and just push down until the top of the clove is actually about 2.5 centimeters below the surface of the compost, and just carry on and do that with the other 4. So once you've got the garlic all in position, just obviously cover them over. A little bit of extra compost if you have it left over. Just give it a little gentle firm press down. And then water, not too much. So once we've completed the bucket then goes back into the greenhouse in the space that was left by the tomato plant we've taken up, and this bucket will stay in the greenhouse now until next year, until we need that space again for more tomato plants, and then we can just place these buckets outside. The garlic will take about 9 months to harvest, so we've got plenty of time. And what I'll do is I'll obviously do follow-up videos as they start to sprout through the compost, and we'll follow them through the 9-month growing period, by which time we should have some delicious organic homegrown garlic. So there you go, the start of some homegrown delicious garlic using supermarket purchased garlic bulbs. Really easy to do. I'm just hoping that this part of the YouTube cookery channel encourages at least 1 or 2 people to start growing your own produce if you've never done it before. It's so easy, and it can be quite convenient as well, especially as we look through the pandemic we've just gone through, where there were genuine shortages of fresh fruit and vegetables in the shops. Please subscribe to the channel, and as usual, if you've enjoyed this particular video, hit the like button. Thank you very much for watching. I've said it before, but your support is greatly appreciated.